Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey dude, you too must be from Marin." Marin County's A-OK, from Tam to Stinson all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day. The Dennis, Dylan, and NWA.
Welcome to the Run TMC Podcast. That is the Run the Marin County Podcast, a podcast about basketball based in Marin County. We are sponsored by the Nike San Domenico camps and Jeff Skaggs. They have sessions coming up in November and December, age 6 to 14, November 24th, 25th, and 26th, as well as December 22 and 23 on the lovely campus out Butterfield Road at San Domenico. If you haven't been out there, truly gorgeous. Thank you to Nike San Domenico camps and Jeff Skaggs. I'm Duffy Ballard, and with me today is, as always, Dave Levine. And to quote from Dave's good friend Paul Worley about Dave, humanist, poet, and crafty point guard Walt Frazier Whitman once said of Dave, "He is large, he contains multitudes." He is so Marin that his pronouns are Lulu and Lemon. A group of crows, as we know, is called a murder, and a group of 50-something-year-old men is called a podcast. Dave's podcast is the world's most popular podcast about basketball, specifically high school basketball in Marin County between the years of 1970 and 2005. This is the longest intro I have ever given to my friend Dave Levine, but I had to run through that to honor Paul Worley and his words at Dave's 50th birthday a couple weeks ago. Good morning, Dave.
I was enjoying all that. That was a lot. Yeah,
There's
Paul
more.
gave
There is more, Dave. 15 minutes of it.
No. Yeah, Paul gave an amazing speech. Best line for sure was that, a group of crows is called a murder and a group of 50-something-year-old men is called a podcast. That's Saturday Night Live-esque. Paul was funny. And yes, he gave us some good-natured ribbing about the limited scope of our podcast. But Duff, as you and I know, we go much deeper than just Marin basketball from 1970 through 2005. Although that is a focus.
That's most of it. That's most of it. But we do talk occasionally about coffee, both hot and iced. And, bacon comes into the mix every once in a while, podcast, pets, so we have some range, but we have found our spot on the floor, and that is basketball in Marin County.
But let's go across a bridge.
Let's banter. Let's spread out. Let's spread our wings. And I've been loving the NBA season. It's off to a really exciting start. A lot of these games are high scoring and close, big numbers being put up. Your thoughts so far, Dave?
It's been great basketball, really fun. Obviously, we're Warriors watchers and fans, and the Warriors have gotten off to a fantastic start. As we kind of anticipated after watching them in the preseason, they were looking really good, and just the depth of the team is notable. Jimmy continues to be the stabilizer on the floor, and Kerr even said that in one of his post-game press conferences, that just when Jimmy's on the floor, when things get a little bit chaotic, as they do in basketball, whether it's fourth grade CYO or the NBA, it's really nice to have a player like Jimmy Butler where you just, relax, give Jimmy the ball. He's going to make a good decision. He's going to settle everybody down, and they're going to get a good action out of it. And it seems that it's always been, can the Warriors survive the non-Steph minutes? When Steph has his breaks, what's the plus minus? Now, honestly, I think it's more, can they survive with Jimmy off the floor?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, they have a lot more consistency to be able to hold off, big runs by the other team during the game, for sure. I was a little bit worried about their defense, Dave, and still there's a lot of time left in the season, many games to be played, but they gave up a lot of points to Portland, and even in games they were winning, they were giving up 110, 115 points. But the effort against the Clippers, and in particular Quentin Post, playing, Zubac I wouldn't say even, but like definitely, holding him from having a huge game, that was really encouraging for them to be able to lock down, against good offensive teams. And the Clippers are a good offensive team.
So another observation, obviously we're early in the season, and it's always funny to do these episodes and go back and re-listen to them. Like the NBA season is just epically long, right? We're 5 games in, it's 82 games. So there are going to be periods where we think the Warriors are the greatest team in history, and there are going to be periods where they suck and we think it's all over. So you kind of got to look at it through the season. But off to the first, 5-6 games, whatever, it's really interesting to see the rookies, not just on the Warriors. Obviously, Will Richard's great, but around the league, the assumption was, okay, Cooper Flagg is going to be a game changer, and he's been great, but he's not the most successful rookie so far, at least in the first couple games. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some guys play.
Well, Dave, has he been great? I don't know. I was going to ask you, 2 questions. Prediction for Rookie of the Year, 5 games in, and then also prediction for the lowest field goal percentage of the year in the NBA, the Keon Johnson Memorial Award for lowest field goal percentage over the course of the season.
Wow, that's a tough one since I'm not in the league anymore. So, do you know? All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. I don't know if you have got the Google machine in front of you. What do you think Cooper's scoring per game? He's played 5 games. What do you think his point average is?
Well, I know he scored 15 last night and had a double-double, and the Mavericks won against the Pacers, and they went 2-3 on their initial homestand. I would say that he is averaging like roughly 11 points a game and shooting roughly 40% from the field. And I don't expect that to continue, but I wouldn't say it's an auspicious start.
Good guess. He's averaging 13.5. I don't have his field goal percentage in front of me, but I'll look that up. But the leading rookie, I'm going to get now to your question on Rookie of the Year. I do think Cooper is going to be Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to figure it out. But so far, the rookie who's been super surprising is VJ Edgecombe.
Yes.
With Philly. He's averaging 22 a game, and I think his first game he had something like 40 or some crazy number.
That backcourt looks great. Him and Maxey look great.
And Maxey's leading the league in scoring. So the other one that's been fun is Con Knippel, Cooper's teammate from Duke. And I actually sent the team that I'm coaching an edit, as the kids say, of Con Knippel over the summer of just him playing off 2 feet. He's one of these kids he's a coach's son. He's super fundamental. He's a great shooter, but he is one of those players who is just militant about getting into the paint and playing the game off 2 feet, like Jimmy Butler. And Knippel
slamming the feet in the paint. Slamming the feet in the paint is
slamming them down. Tom Poser would be proud. Yeah. And Knippel has been awesome. And he and Ball in the backcourt for Charlotte he's off to a great start. Knippel's averaging 16 a game. Dylan Harper's been really good for San Antonio. San Antonio is looking extremely fun with obviously Wemby is changing the game, but San Antonio is deep and Dylan Harper fits right in, coming off the bench, scoring 15 a game. So you have some really fun rookies who are already producing 5-6 games into the season.
All right, next prediction, Dave. MVP. Is it going to be Wemby?
Okay. I think it is going to be Wemby because I think there might be some Jokic fatigue, but Duff, go look at Jokic's stats.
I am right now. 11.7 assists a game, Dave.
Yes. He's averaging a triple-double. Now, obviously, we're early in the season, but Jokic is so incredibly good. But he's been 3-time MVP. Is that right? And so at some point, I think there might just be, honestly, voter fatigue and like, okay, we need some fresh blood in here. Wemby, if Wemby can stay healthy, I think Wemby's got the MVP kind of pedigree or potential because you watch him play, it's like he's not from this planet. I mean, he's 7, whatever he is, handling the ball, shooting step back threes, seemingly covering the length of the court in 2 strides. I mean, he's an alien. It's incredible.
That is a good description. Yeah, I agree. I think if he stays healthy and the Spurs win 50 games at least, then I think he's probably likely to be the MVP. Obviously, he's very likely to be Defensive Player of the Year. But sneaker for MVP. What about Austin Reeves? Man, that guy has been filling it up. 35 points a game, 36 points a game, 9 assists.
And doing it without LeBron. You think about when LeBron comes back, what does that do for AR's game? He's such a good counterpuncher because he's awesome at a lot of the things that we discuss as coaches that we want to emphasize to our players: read and react, making quick decisions, and really attacking closeouts, right? So as the ball goes from side to side and the defense shifts, being able to quickly attack that closeout and taking advantage of it. When LeBron's on the floor and draws all the gravity and you get a swing to Reeves, he's so good at that. And I'm tired of seeing him do it to the Warriors, but he's doing this without LeBron right now. So I'm super impressed with AR. I really love his game, and he can shoot it. He can take it to the basket. He's strong. He's got size. I mean, he's a really good scorer.
And he's got good hair game too.
Strong with the headband. I'm a fan of the headband for sure.
Yeah, I wonder about the Lakers, like with LeBron, Luka, and Austin. Sometimes it looks like they're just taking turns out there, right? I mean, obviously they take a turn and maybe the ball does skip and someone gets an open shot. It's a very different style of play than, the Warriors, especially the Warriors without Jimmy, running the offense, because, that the Warriors are organized chaos and movement, and, a lot of pieces on the floor are involved. Even if they're not touching the ball, the movement is involved. Whereas the Lakers are much more, hold the corner, one guy's going to work.
Yep.
Obviously, that can be very effective in the NBA when you have elite players, a guy like Luka who can get to a spot and score without jumping sometimes. It just seems amazing to me how easy, like, he just gets his spot and then it's like a Nerf shot hoop. Like, how did he just do that? Like, but his footwork is so good. So anyway, not to denigrate that style, because it can be very effective. I don't prefer to watch it quite as much as the Warriors style, but the Warriors style is, kind of almost, one of a kind in this era of NBA.
It is, but it's fun watching the Warriors as they get into close games down the stretch. And I think we were talking about this, Duff, last week. I forget which game it was. There was a close game down the stretch, and basically the Warriors, kind of like the Olympic team with Steph and LeBron, where when it came down to it and they needed a bucket in the last 3 minutes, they just went ear tug, right? High pick and roll with Steph and LeBron, and then everybody clear, KD clear out to the wing, and you got shooters everywhere, but you want these two guys in the action. The Warriors have done that, but they have Jimmy with the ball and Steph setting the high pick and roll in the middle third, and then just go to work. And you got Kuminga, who's an amazing cutter, slasher, and finisher. You got Mo Moody. You got all these guys around who can make plays when they need to, Pajemski. But really, ultimately, when it comes down to the end of the game, you want the ball in your stars' hands. The Lakers have that with Luka and AR right now, and it's very powerful.
Yeah, and they'll have 3 closers when LeBron comes back. So,
right.
But I would still, in an over/under for this year, number of wins in season, I'm taking the Warriors over the Lakers.
I think so. It's all going to come down to health, and can they stay healthy? I mean, you saw the Portland game. Portland looked great, by the way. Portland's much improved, tons of talent, and play with great energy, even with their coach no longer being there due to a federal investigation.
Dave, I have a quick announcement. Run TMC Podcast is now sponsoring exclusive poker games where you can come and meet the hosts of the Run TMC Podcast. Bring your checkbook, because there is going to be big money on the table, and there might even be bamboo t-shirts as well. So come join our poker games. If Dave and I are wearing funny colored glasses as we look at our cards, don't worry. It's just part of the look.
Yeah, don't mind the X-ray cameras underneath the table either. I think we're probably now going to be on some watch list now that you said that.
Yeah. Cash Patel's going to be the check. Cash Patel's the newest listener to the podcast.
Potential guest. I'm sure he's a listener. But yeah, so folks, watch the NBA. It's a lot of fun. I know people still think that the NBA is sort of they don't play hard until the last 3 minutes of the game. I don't agree. Watch the game. The game today in the NBA is, I think, a much more watchable, enjoyable game than it was a couple years ago. And we
And you know what makes it more fun, Dave?
go.
Prop bets, in-game prop bets.
It is the new reality. Yeah, we won't talk about Terry Rozier. But off to a great start again is Oklahoma City Thunder. They are very fun to watch. As a basketball nerd, you want to watch really nice actions on offense, amazing defensive principles. Oklahoma City is top to bottom a really, really good team. But don't sleep on San Antonio. And then out in the East, Chicago, Philly, Miami's off to a great start. So you got a lot of really good teams with good coaches. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, pretty wide open in the East, I think. And the Thunder are doing it with only one Jalen Williams. They're down one Jalen Williams, and
Right.
they're still looking great. So, all right, Dave. Well, should we move on to our next topic? Because we like to talk about the NBA, but this is not an NBA podcast. It's a basketball podcast. So you had a trip down to the farm last weekend and watched some basketball down there. So tell us about the open practice for the Stanford women.
Yeah, the Stanford women every year do what they call the Cardinal White scrimmage, where they have it's open to the public, it's free, and you can see the team scrimmage. And obviously I've got a dual interest. I'm an alum, and I was the practice player for the women's team. So I always love going to this because I see them play against the current practice team, a bunch of both men and women who are either students or alums who have a semblance of basketball skill that they like to play against the team. But also for me, it was a chance to go down and see my friend Carly Amborn, who I coached. She's a freshman, and it was awesome. So it's a broader topic of going to watch college kids play and go to practices is just extremely valuable, both as a high school coach and really, I'd say, for high school players to go watch college teams practice and see how hard they play and the level of attention to detail and discipline. So it was really fun to watch. It was an awesome day. Carly played great. She hit a couple buckets. The Stanford team is loaded with talent. They've got 5 freshmen. Carly's one of them. 3 of those freshmen were McDonald's All-Americans and are on kind of preseason All-America watch lists. They're really, really good. So it was really fun to go down and see the team play. And I got to say hello to Katie Stedding and Kate Pay and the coaching staff as well, which was great. And I will say, Duff, you went to the Stanford men's practice last year, I remember, and you shared insights. I saw the team, they have these sensors that they're on, like after the scrimmage, Carly reached behind her and pulled off the sensor. So they track everything that these kids are doing. Like they're every kind of medical data point, they're tracking every practice.
Yeah, no, that was one of the takeaways for me, is just how much the technology is being leveraged in terms of sort of individual tracking of movement and load. And at the Stanford men's practice, they had someone on a screen that was tracking that in real time. And I don't know, I imagine if there are thresholds in terms of load or heart rate or whatever it might be, where they would say, hey, we're going to take this player out of practice for a few minutes. I'm not sure exactly what they do with the data, but they definitely are tracking everything. And I have to imagine that helps prevent injury, and also helps with the recovery from injury as you're bringing a player back into practice. So yeah, I thought last year, Dave, we talked a little bit about it, but going to watch the Stanford men practice, there are a number of things that we brought back from that I continue to use. It was a nice thing to do. And I know your head coach with the Branson girls, friend of the podcast, KK, has been spending some time going around to other practices, college practices primarily, just to get a sense of, how they're run and a feel for things that she could bring back to your practices. And that's just, seems like just a great thing to do if you have, the time and inclination to do it.
So KK, our friend Caden Korst, great coach, is, friend of the podcast, young woman who's got an incredible coaching career already and ahead of her. it was really cool. So she just sent out emails to a bunch of college coaches. Some of them she knows, some of them she doesn't, and introduced herself, said, "Hey, I'm a high school coach. I'd love to come and sit in on a practice and learn and observe and just learn from you." And you'd be amazed at the response she got. I mean, it almost to a person, everybody responded, said, "Yep, happy to have you come in. Here are the dates. Here's where we're open." And she's been going to men's and women's college practices. So she went to, USF and St. Mary's and Cal, and we're going to go to a Stanford practice. I communicated with the coaching staff there, and they're going to welcome us in. And so it's really cool. It's echoes of what Steve Lavin did 30 years ago when this was before email. He would actually send letters, but he sent letters out to, Bob Knight and Gene Katie and Mike Krzyzewski and all these coaches. And a few of them wrote back and said, "Yep, happy to have you come out." And Steve got in his car and drove across the country and visited these amazing programs and learned from these incredible coaches. And it's, as coaches, we're all intellectually curious about, we're all thieves, right? We steal drills from other coaches and concepts, but we also seem to always want to give it back. Last night I was at a CYO coaches clinic where Tom Poser was just, for free, just showed up and sweat and worked hard for 2 hours teaching coaches how to coach. And I was there helping him out. Coaches just like to do that. So if you're a high school coach out there or a youth coach and you're interested, take a shot, send a note to a college program or a high school program. And, you never know. Someone might write back and say, "Hey, come on and watch practice," and kind of pay it forward.
Yep. Yeah. KK reported to us, and I won't say which program this was, but there was one practice she went to where she didn't learn a lot other than how a coach might kick his team out of practice for not giving good attention or effort, which sometimes that's what you need to do. All right, Dave. So we're going to get soon to our guest, which was a re-release of an awesome interview from earlier this year as part of our preseason package. Next week, we will have new material, and that is coming up very soon. But before we do that, we got a glossary item. So we are going to talk about the line of scrimmage.
Do it, Duff. What is the line of scrimmage?
Okay. Line of scrimmage. Okay, we're not talking football here. We're talking the line of scrimmage in basketball, and in particular as a concept in the ball screen defense. So we've talked before about ball screen defense and some of the concepts and some of the terminology. You have, the possibility of a switch on the ball screen. You have the possibility of a drop coverage where the big drops down into paint to protect against the drive. You have the hedge where the big kind of is providing a little bit of a barrier to the ball handler in the direction of that screen's going, and then recovering. You have the hard hedge. You have the blitz. The line of scrimmage is a nuance concept, within the concept of a hedge that is deployed by the Houston Cougars and their ball screen defense, which is a very aggressive ball screen defense. And essentially the concept here, Dave, is you have a big and they're coming to set a ball screen for your guard. The defender on the ball, so the defender on the ball handler, is trying to prevent rejecting that screen. So you want to make sure that the ball handler is going in the direction of the screen, which normally they do. That's usually the purpose. And then the big is holding the line of scrimmage. So wherever the ball handler starts with the ball, the big wants to get to that point and then allow the ball handler's defender to go over the screen. So the ball handler's defender is going over the screen while the big's defender is holding the line of scrimmage, not allowing the ball handler to get downhill. And then everyone else in defense is pushing up so that they can cover the next pass, and that they can then tag the roller if the big then quickly rolls or slips that screen. So the line of scrimmage concept, which I like it because it really defines where that big defender needs to get. Don't let him get a single yard to gain off of this ball screen.
It's an effective defense against a really talented scorer. So if you've got a ball handler who is either a really good 3-point shooter or someone you really don't want to let him or her get downhill. This is an aggressive defense to kind of force that ball handler to give up the ball or put him in jail. Now, obviously, the risk is a heads up big who's setting the screen will quickly slip or roll because they will notice that, hey, my defender's, hard hedging here. There's an opening. So that's where, as you mentioned, Duff, you need to have really good weak side help to help tag that roller and slow them down to avoid giving up a dunk.
Right. And this is not quite a blitz. So the blitz is when you send both defenders at the ball handler very aggressively.
Right.
But it can turn into a blitz in the right circumstances. The line of scrimmage is just a spot on the floor based on where the ball handler is that you're aspiring to get your help to. And then everyone else, as you say, has to push up, tag the roller. So what could be open is a long pass over the top because if it's done well, everyone's rotating towards the action and you may lose help over the top. But if you've got an athletic defense like the Houston Cougars often do, where you've got guys that can fly around and recover, that can be a really hard play to make over the top, for a lob or whatever.
So teams will often mix it up. It was interesting, even at the Stanford scrimmage, there was one period, they played 4 quarters, but there was one period where every ball screen, they were icing it. So you could see, Kate was screaming, ice, ice, ice. So on the ball screen and icing, obviously, you're forcing the ball handler to reject the screen, forcing them to the baseline. Totally the opposite of what we're talking about here. But flipping those coverages on teams can be very challenging. It can take them out of their rhythm. So if we're running our, Princeton offense and we incorporate a lot of ball screens in our Princeton offense and they're icing it in the first half, at halftime, we're talking about, okay, they're icing all the ball screens and then they mix it up and now they start playing this hard hedge line of scrimmage coverage on it. It mixes it up. So you got to read and react as an offensive team.
Yep. Can be very effective as long as everyone on the defense is on the same page, right? That's when you mix it up too much and someone's not paying attention and someone thinks they're icing and the other person, the other guy or gal thinks they're line of scrimmaging, then you can lead to total breakdown. But that's why you got to know your personnel and know whether or not they can flip the approach in real time like that, which more likely to be possible at the college level than the high school.
Yep. Agreed.
Yep.
But that's a good one.
All right, Dave. Well, we are going to get into the re-release of the awesome interview from earlier this year with Tasha Jackson. We, I should say, you do an introduction in the podcast, in the interview itself, but we wanted to re-release this one after the Supple Leopard re-release for season 3, episode 1, because it's another good sort of preseason topic to think about mindfulness in sports and how to win the mental side of the game. And Tasha just gave us some great perspective, some great tips about how to train ourselves to be mentally stronger and more resilient, both as coaches as well as players, and also a little bit in terms of how to approach it as a parent of a player. So love this interview, and it seemed like it was a good one to put out again right now. Any takeaways as you listen to it again, Gabe? I know you listened to this one again on your drive back from Stanford over the weekend.
Yeah, it's great. Tasha's amazing. I again will apologize. I had technical difficulties in the middle of this interview. I dropped off, came back on, and my audio is terrible. So that's actually fine. You're spared my voice for part of it. So I apologize for that. But I thought Tasha had so many interesting, insightful observations. She's very clear. She's not a basketball person. She was actually a tennis player, as we talk about a lot. And she's not a sports psychologist or anything, but she's a clinical psychotherapist. She's really smart. She's worked with a lot of people about performance and mindfulness, and the message that she has and the lessons and the tactics that she shares, so useful. I hope that players listen to this, and frankly, coaches. Listening to this, it's informed how I'm approaching my team, particularly even after listening to this with her. it changed my behavior on the bench at the end of the season last year because I was thinking about some of the things that she was talking about. So I think really useful and transferable to any sport or anything that you're doing.
Yeah, I still use the concept of creating your own athletic character that she talks about in this interview, where you're defining who you want to be as a player on the court and not leaving that character. So listen, she'll talk about it in more detail. She talks about sort of the athletic character she defined for herself on the tennis court. But I've used this with a number of players as a coach and also thought about it for myself. And the athletic character that I want to be on the court is Wilt Chamberlain at age 85 years old, because
makes a lot of sense. It's a great one.
Yeah, I don't think he lived to age 85, Dave. But if he had, he'd still would have been moving great. So before we get into the interview, we did get in contact with Tasha. She sent us some updates. Things are going great with her and with her kids. She's enjoying being a mom. She's got Hooper, and she sent us a little snippet of additional content that is a great reminder for all of us out there, athletes, parents, coaches, about just enjoying the opportunity when you're out on the field or court, wherever it might be. So we're going to play that first, and then we're going to go into the interview, and Dave's going to do the full intro to Tasha, and then just sit back and enjoy the conversation.
Sounds great. Enjoy the re-release of Tasha, and then stay tuned for some awesome new content coming your way in a couple weeks.
Coming soon, Dave. Coming soon. Okay.
And then last but definitely not least is my other add-on is that the end of the day, that this is just a game. And as much as I can come off from the past of, I was an intense player. I take things that I really care about seriously. And I know that probably is seen in this recording, or how I took an approach that's not light of taking all these issues or these moments. But at the end of the day, I think fun is really important, because it does, as an athlete, you're playing better. You are out there, you're a bit looser. I can reflect on my past times. There are some things I eliminated out of my bio. I'll be cocky here and drop that I have some gold balls, which are national titles, in my name. And I wouldn't have had those if I wasn't having fun. I think there's an element of fun, and those were doubles. And I had more fun in doubles. I would crack jokes, or we would be like, it's just fun. So I remember sliding on clay, right? It's just fun. And so I think that element in practice and in the way you love a sport, that will keep you coming back, right? It's a, whatever dopamine hit, it gets your adrenaline as well. So at the end of the day, I say all this stuff with a load of, hey, take it seriously, be consistent over time, be positive with somebody, because it brings you back in to do more hours, but also have fun with it. And I think that takes a level of anxiety away too. All right. I hope you guys are amazing. I hope this resonates with people, and amazing that you've created this community. All right. Ciao.
Okay. We are live. Hi, Tasha Jackson.
Hi, David Levine.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Hi, Duffy. Sorry to leave you out.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
So before we started recording, Duffy was telling us that he originally was going to be called Dusty, but that turned into Duffy.
Right, Dave. Would you like me to rehash that story? Because I'm not sure that's one our listeners will find.
It's not an exciting story, but I just want everyone to know, for the record, that he could have been Dusty, but instead he's Duffy, and we love that he is Duffy.
I'll share this.
Yeah, go.
My brother will love this. His name is Chris, younger brother, and there was a period of time where he would emulate many things that I did, 1.5 year difference. So for a brief period of time, he was Criffy. I was Duffy, and he was Criffy, and that did not stick.
Wow.
He's probably going to throw me some dagger eyes for mentioning that on the podcast.
Criffy. How do you spell Criffy? With Chriffy?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Chris. Good life decision to go away from the Criffy.
I find K's very funny though. In comedy, K's are funny.
It's true.
It's just the word is, yeah.
It's true. It's true.
glad I'm not Kasha.
Kasha Jackson.
Maybe
All right. We are joined by the great Tasha Jackson. Tasha is a really fascinating person, and I'm thrilled that we have her. So she is a clinical psychotherapist. We've given her background. Tasha, we gave your background to our listeners before the interview, so we won't rehash all of it. But I view you as you're a thought leader. You're a very successful speaker. You're a podcaster. You're an author. Also, as we mentioned, you're a former high-level competitive tennis player, played high-level D1, played professionally for a minute, had a cup of coffee in the professional leagues, as we say. You're also a sports mom. You're a mother of two fantastic kids. Your son, Jack, is a basketball player. He's a 7th grader. So really excited to have you to talk about kind of the mental side of sports.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that is so important. And as a coach now, I look back on myself as a player back in the day, and I wish I had the tools that are available to players today back when I was playing many years ago. So let's start, Tasha, and talk about sports psychology.
Can I interrupt you for a second? I just want to be super clear
Please.
that I am, even though I'm a clinical therapist, I am not a sports psychologist. And it's like going to the doctor where you go to a generalist and they know a little bit of that stuff, but it's not my expertise. So it's like I come from the sports background. I have a little, I have knowledge of psychology.
Sure.
But it's like going to the doctor asking about ears, no throat. They can give you a little bit, right? But they're not going to give you the depth of a sports psychologist. So I feel like I am pulling from myself today, pulling from a little bit of psychology and a little bit of, just winging it here.
Fantastic. This interview is over. Tasha, you can leave now.
Wait, take a shirt.
No, I appreciate you saying that, and that's great. But I think you do have, given all what your disclaimer, which totally fair, I think you have some great perspective on this stuff. So with that said, why don't you give us your perspective on what is sports psychology and why is it important, given the fact that you're not a sports psychologist? But give us your take on it.
Well, when I was thinking about this interview of going, okay, what is sports and what is clinical? Like when I'm working with a client, I'm trying to get them to be a more peaceful place in their life, just better relationships, happier, just more aware. And then with the sports is like you're wanting to actually excel in something. And that's not what I do with clinical work. They're making them happy. So it's a weird part of going, how much is it about success? And so that's that different part where if we're talking about sports, it's different for me to like kind of put the feelings aside in a way of like, we're not going to think about that. How do we actually excel? So it's different in that realm. Does that make sense?
It totally does. But then it also begs the question of what is the goal?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like for you,
mm-hmm.
you were a high level competitive tennis player.
Mm-hmm.
I assume when you were growing up, you were driven you wanted to be a pro tennis player.
I did. And I came to, I'll tell, I guess, a little bit of story, maybe help people.
Yeah.
I started out, my parents I was blessed with, I didn't know this about my dad the other day. I knew my mom had played in the US Open, but I didn't know my dad had also played in the US Open. So it was just kind of a weird thing in a family that you didn't know until like 2 years ago that my dad was playing in the US Open. So I grew up in a household where we played sports. We just went out and played tennis. And so my mom taught me, and I just loved tennis immediately. My brother hated it. I loved it. I just went out there and I had fun. And so the first year that I played competitively, I never won a game. And so those who play tennis, like there's game sets match, and I never won a game. And so the next year, I never won a set. So if you imagine going out and playing a sport and never winning, that was me, but I didn't care. I just had fun. And so I think there's this idea that you go out there and you have all the success, but I just love the game. And I think that's an important part of whatever we're doing in life that we want success, to find that way of loving it. And I'd love to practice. I'd love to like perfection, like whatever it is. It's like I wanted to do it correctly. And my mom was great with the idea of like, it's not about winning. So it wasn't about going out there. I think my dad has told me later on he had to bite his lip. Like, God, this is painful to watch.
Right.
But my mom who was my coach, she just like was patient out there. And then it all kind of came together, teaching perfect technique, being consistent with practice, being intentional with practice. And then I just started getting success. And I still had that mindset that I started earlier on of it is about having fun and oops, I hear a hand raised. And having that intentional consistency, I think was the trick, not like, am I going to win? So that was the early mindset. I don't know if that was helpful. I'm forgetting your question now that I'm kind of talking about my history.
That's great. No, that's great. I mean, my question was more than Duffy. We'll get to you, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids just want to have fun. Some kids just want to be part of a team. Some kids want to play professionally and are driven. And so everybody has their kind of their why of why they're playing. And that can change over time, right? You can start with, hey, I'm just having fun. I'm going to play multiple sports. And then you realize you have some success at one sport and you start to focus on it. And then maybe this is my key to get to college. So just when we're thinking about sports psychology and mindset, it's important, I think, for everybody, whether you're a 7th grader or 50 years old, to what's your why of why you're playing. Duffy, go.
Well, yeah, Dave, I'm sure you're the same. Like in coaching, I've talked a lot over the years about intentionality for kids when they're working on the game. In particular, when they come to an open gym, like what are you going to get better at today? And I find that, you can preach it, but it's very hard for it to be adopted by the vast majority of kids. So I'm wondering, Tasha, like this is kind of a nature versus nurture question. Your intentionality, how did it come from within? Or if not, like how did it get nurtured? And what advice might you have for coaches and parents who are looking to instill that in their kids?
Okay, so this is a multi-layered question. It's great. So there's a lot of ways I can answer this. So I'm going to jump all over the place. So, and I'll speak from my own experience. So my mom taught me very early how to be intentional. Like it was very precise. It was about technique. It was about hard work. It was like taught. It's like, how do you learn work ethic? It's kind of that atmosphere. We're creatures who adopt, right? So what is that atmosphere you're placed in? And you can probably see this at different teams you've played on, one that practices intensely and one does not. And who sets that tone and who is teaching that tone? And if you have a positive influencer on that team who is keeping that intensity, people just adapt to their environment. So for me, it was placed as in this environment of this is how you practice. And I grew up in the Pacific Northwest where you had very little court time because of the rain. So you use that time well. And same with probably gym time in Marin, right? It's like the sacred thing. You go in there and you have a plan and you go work on it and you're intentional. So like, I think that motivation also like you're having fun and then you have success and then it builds on each other and then maybe your goals change, right? And I think positive experience helps with motivation to do better. And so I think often I'm sure you guys have talked on your show, like old school coaching, the shaming, all that stuff. You just look at somebody when they're told something bad and their physical body is giving you the answer of how motivated they are. Their body goes down, they feel down. It's like their weight goes down. How are you supposed to get them that intensity to go up and be loose, take risks, learn something new, be open to it? So I think there's that place of, you as coaches probably want your kids to go out on their own, practice things, be intentional. But I think it comes from being the positive. In practice, I think there's the positive and then that push. You got to be pushed and you got to believe in the person. And I think that belief, if you truly believe in that person and are speaking that comes off. I think sometimes in the back of our mind, whether we want to admit it or not, we don't believe in a person. And so that we have to get true if you're coaching somebody. What is that coming from? What is that about? And then working with it and maybe working with the person. Maybe you have a gut reaction to this person of like, hey, I don't think their head's in the game. And then you talk about it. So I know I'm kind of going on a tangent, but I think, there are some keys to motivation of asking questions if you really sit down with somebody and go, if you continue on this path like you're doing, where are you going to be in 3 weeks, 6 months, a year? And what you're doing is psychologically speeding up time. And you're seeing the actions of how it could go. And you can do this the positive way or whatever it is. And you also have to sit back and so this comes from a technique of motivational interviewing. And so you're trying to speed up the effect of what they're doing and then give them like the sensory. I'm like, what does that feel like to be in this place of making this change? You're kind of giving them a future picture, and it could be bleak too.
Right.
If you continue not to go to the gym or stretch or take care of your injury, whatever it is, where you're going to be. And that kind of is a wake-up call for kids, right? You're like, whoa, or whoever it is. So, yeah.
So I have so many questions. I wanted to jump into coaching later, but let's do coaching now. And obviously, Tasha, you're talking to 2 coaches right now. So in a pregame, I find myself when I'm trying to motivate my team and get them ready to get out on the floor, I realized in some self-reflection that I often emphasize the negative. Like, okay, if we do this, we're going to lose. If we do this, we're going to lose. If we do this, we're going to lose. I assume that's probably not the best motivational technique as opposed to focus on the positive things. If we do these things, we will win. Mm-hmm. Right? Is that fair to say? Am I doing it wrong?
You're amazing.
Give me the answer, Tasha.
Okay, first of all, you're aware and you're here being conscious about your coaching. I mean, amazing. Let's just start with the positive, right?
I'm so amazing.
Yes, you are. Let's start with the positive. Like I would want you to start as a positive coach. Look at how intentional you are with your coaching.
Okay.
How does that make you feel right now?
Feel
great.
I'm being
a little See? Yeah. See, now you're more engaged.
Awesome.
So I think it starts with the goals of winning and losing is in practice. That's in practice, in my opinion. And I don't know basketball as well as tennis.
Yeah.
But when you get into the place of focusing on a win or not win, which is going to be, if you have competitive athletes, it's going to be in the back of their mind because they want to win, right? It's like the racehorse that wants to get going down the field. They want that. And if not, that's a whole different discussion. But for you to be focused on the action steps of what you want to see, that not the winning or losing, because then that gets people thinking. Thinking, oh, if we lose or not. And you don't want somebody to necessarily be in their head. They want to be in the sensory, to feel the ball, to feel the whatever it is, that cue positive words. You want to be implementing that. You need as a coach, like, okay, I'm like hosting a party per se. What do you want your atmosphere of your party to be? Where do you want your intensity level? Maybe it gets too high. Maybe it gets too low, right? Where am I setting that tone? Where do I want to be suggesting into my players? Like there's psychological suggestions. Do I want them to be moving my feet? Like, be very specific in my mind. Like, there's a part of like, oh my God, my kids are asleep out there, right? I'm like, okay, so you are literally planting the seed of sleep. And what do people do? They think of sleep, right? It's like this, let's be conscious. I call it the lifeguard suggestion. So lifeguards go say, walk, right? They don't tell you go run, right? That suggests running. So walking goes, okay, I got to walk. So what movement do you want your athletes to be doing? Say those words, because that's what's going to be in their head.
So that's yeah, and that's what exactly what you're saying. So for example, using the lifeguard, okay, so they want you to walk, they don't want you to run.
Yeah.
So as opposed to saying don't run, just say walk. Like I for example, we were playing a team last night, and I knew that if we dribbled too much, we would lose the ball. We had to pass more, dribble less. So I kept saying to us at timeout, so you're dribbling too much, stop dribbling. And now I'm realizing what I should say is pass the ball more.
Yeah.
Like the focus on the action that we want to have happen, not the action that we don't want to have happen.
Yes. In the most part, right? It's still so tricky like that.
It's hard.
Yeah, because it's like it's not the end of the world to say don't, but yeah, do what you want. Have them lean toward the place, and it's suggestive, right? So that's perfect. And you could also emphasize in the positive, hey, Jane Doe, you are passing amazing. Keep that up. Leaning into the positive. versus the shaming that I see. Like, oh my God, I like cringe when I watch coaches in basketball and they're talking to the bench about what they don't like. And like, oh my God, they're just playing blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh God, you're building the tone of anxiety and tightness. The body tightens up. And that is not the performance we want to embrace.
So basketball is a intense, loud, frantic sport, right? It's indoors, it's sweaty, it's stressful. It's really stressful. You, through your everybody, I recommend you search Tasha Jackson TEDx talk. She gave a beautiful speech about her neurodiversity and her neurodiverse mind. And you are a highly sensitive person, right? That is an HSP. So you were a tennis player, you weren't a basketball player, but there are other highly sensitive people out there, right? And maybe you can take a second and discuss what a highly sensitive person is. But I'm interested in how a highly sensitive person would respond to basketball coaching, like you're talking about. What? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm an HSP as well. But when I was in high school, I had a coach who great friends with. I like him a lot, but he was intense. He was tough. He was old school. You made a mistake, he would let you know and everybody around you know that you made that mistake. And it kind of made me crumble. And I wasn't very strong mentally to withstand that. What tools can you give to highly sensitive people when they're dealing with coaches that are being very direct and in some cases negative? Go ahead, Duff.
Well, maybe before you go there, could you tell us, because this is, I watched the TEDx as well, which is awesome. Actually, both of the TEDx's, and you have 500,000 total views, which is amazing. If we could get that in the podcast, Dave, we're getting there. But anyway, could you help just define, how would you know if you're HSP? Because, I'm not sure. I was listening to the TED Talk. I'm like, maybe I am. I'm pretty sure my daughter is, but I don't know. How would you, before you answer Dave's questions, if you don't mind, just kind of speaking to that? I think that athletes might, it might be worthwhile for them to, assess whether they are on that sort of, where they are on the HSP sort of spectrum, which is probably the spectrum. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, Duffy, please butt in. You're the doctor here. So first of all, thank you for being vulnerable, Dave, and possibly disclosing that you wonder if you're HSP yourself and your experience with your coach. I admire that vulnerability here. So, and thank you for the accolades of going on stage. It's not my forte, but I've somehow done it. So they have found in all animals that 20% of these animals are more sensitive than the rest of the animal group per se. So like in fish, there's 20% of the fish who react differently to danger, and they can sense it beforehand. They pull back. They have this sensitivity that is different than the rest of the group. And so maybe it is the sounds or feelings or sensory stuff or feelings. It is more. It is just more of it. And so with that comes the good and the bad. And so you can be what's called a canary in the coal mine. You can kind of sense something ahead of time, which can be great, but you're like, oh, I'm feeling it, right? You're a little bit more hesitant maybe to go in and do something because you're feeling it a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe I also think of it, it's hard for me to differentiate because I'm dyslexic too, but I take it as you're taking more sensory things in. And with that, if you imagine a funnel, there's more things going down a funnel. And so when more things are in a funnel, it takes a little longer to process. So if you're that person who feels like, okay, yeah, I'm a little bit more sensitive than somebody else, and maybe there's a spectrum, I'm way over here or not, to give yourself that space that what I'm feeling right now might just take a little bit longer to process, and I'm feeling it deeper. Just that self-compassion as a coach or a parent to be aware, oh, this person needs to be talked to differently, and they may actually incorporate it more in the end, but it's going to take them a little bit more, and I may need to talk to them in a different way. I find that HSPs need a lot more validation, and it may feel like hand-holding today's thing, or maybe it's just really paying attention to who you're talking to. Does that make sense? And so, yeah, sound is a huge one for most highly sensitive people. So you're in a gym and it's loud and there's people talking and you hear more than somebody else. And then you have somebody shouting at you, and it's what happened often is they shut down. And so I've seen this with kids just watching, observing. I'm like, oh, my heart goes out to them because it's like they can't handle it all. And they almost need like those blinders to go on. I'll tell a story. I was at a Halloween party once and I decided to dress up as a dog that came back from the hospital. And I had a big cone head on my head. And A, stopped me from drinking very much. And, oh, your poor dog is a cone head.
I got a cone head right next to me. Go ahead. Continue.
And the reality is it actually helped me be at the party because I didn't feel I could, was blocked out all the sensory things, which clearly I should just walk around with a cone head all the time.
Yeah.
But there's a reality of like, okay, if one of your athletes is like that, think of their world as a different experience. For you as a coach, you might have to take moments where it's like, okay, I need to be more grounded. I need to be aware of it. There's a trick that I teach people who are HSP is to close your eyes for 3 seconds. Most of our sensory comes through our eyes. So if you just close your eyes for 3 seconds, which you could do in a timeout, right?
Yeah.
Then you are just reset. And it doesn't have to be longer than that. You make routines of that kind of throughout your day to kind of just reset because you're having so much sensory. But that person on your team could be such an ally.
Yeah.
And the thing is once you open up the door mental, like in your brain to what's called like the non-typical brain, you might have other aspects of ADHD, neurodiverse, on the spectrum. So it's kind of like once you go there, they may not have a full diagnosis, but you might be dealing with little sprinkles of other things. So it's hard to differentiate, but is that helpful?
Totally. So,
Okay.
but you as an HSP,
Mm-hmm.
let's go back to your tennis.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're moving up, you're
Mhm.
competitive, you're really good.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting a D1 offer. You played at
Mhm.
University of San Diego. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you ever have coaches who were really demanding, at times maybe negative or hypercritical of you? And if so, how did you handle that? How were you able to deal with that?
I was perfect, Dave. So
I forgot about that part. I'm used to me and Duffy. Yeah.
Well, tennis is weird because we're not allowed to coach during the time other than college. So, and I had a really bad relationship with my coach in college. This is a long story, but I'm trying to think of like, there's definitely weird things that happen that are distracting and negative. I didn't know that I was HSP. I just thought I was a mess. So, but the one thing that comes when you're slightly off the quote normal brain or typical brain is you can hyper focus. And that is your gift. And so it's a gift and a curse, right? You can often you'll see it with ADHD individuals, like, oh, they can't focus, but they're hyper focusing.
Yeah.
And so Michael Jordan was ADHD. He went out there and he like hyper focused. And so I think that was actually what helped me being on the neurodiverse side is because I just hyper focused. And I did take sensitivity more like someone saying back some comment like you can't hit a slice backhand. I know this sounds weird if you don't play tennis, but I never could get a slice backhand.
Yep.
And so it's like that little insult. And I'm like, oh, then I start thinking negatively about myself outside, right? And so that stuff can hit harder if you have more sensitivities. So I can't say that I had the negative coaching because I was really protective of that. I just didn't want to be around it. I think I instinctually knew it was horrible. So,
well, let's talk about self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
So you're tennis is the classic example of this, right? The Inner Game of Tennis, great book, and Self 1 or Self 2, and discuss self-talk and how it can be helpful for players, coaches, competitors.
Okay. So there's many different places if we're talking like off the court, in the gym or out of the gym, wherever it is. So I think there is, okay, I'm going to back up. Correct me if I'm wrong with you guys. The best player is going to be the player who goes into the gym consistently doing that intentional practice. Are we correct?
Yes.
Okay. So to get there then, if you're having negative self-talk outside of at home in your environment, that is going to hinder the main goal to get into the gym consistently.
Right.
So you have these, what are in psychology, or you can Google thinking errors, and there's a whole list of them. You have like discounting the positive. So you go out and win. You're like, well, they sucked. So then you completely discounted your motivation. There's overgeneralizing. Well, I'm just kind of a hack, So you're again discounting yourself. So all these thinking errors that can pop up that can block us from, again, getting back into the gym for that consistent, intentional training. So that is that self-talk that's happening outside of the gym that you can notice it, and then you got to talk back to it. And you got to have some support around other people that are going to block that self-talk. If your environment that's supporting, that was a problem a little bit in my college, where we're all competing for the same spot, and then there's some nasty player is going to hit into your self-talk. Yeah, you don't really deserve to play there. Crap, that's not what you want, right?
Right.
So that just builds on your own insecurities and vulnerabilities. So that's outside of the gym. Now, when you're in the competition and you have self-talk, you can notice the thoughts. But if I was sitting there trying to help somebody mentally, I would say we don't necessarily want to be thinking so much. And that sounds weird. You can be tactical. Yes, do the passing, don't do the dribbling, right? You can be tactical, but you're wanting to do action thoughts or sensory. For me, it was feeling the tennis ball. If I'm thinking about the tennis ball, I'm thinking about moving my feet. I'm thinking about staying low.
Yep.
I'm in the action. I'm not in my head. Am I going to win? Oh, crap. If I lose this point, I'm going to be down 4-2.
Right.
That's not where you want to be. You don't want to be thinking about, oh, did my boyfriend show up? Oh, is he talking to that girl in the stands? Oh, shit. Right. Sorry. It's supposed to be PG.
No, you can swear. Go ahead.
Okay. I
good.
really told myself I wasn't going to swear.
That's okay.
So I think being in those action words is where you want to be, and using your body to cue in to get out of. So you use the self-talk to build yourself up, and using really action positive words to get yourself into that. Does that make sense?
That's great. And that's really good advice. And I somebody told me this recently. Some coach told me, as a coach, don't be a scoreboard watcher. And I thought that was really good advice, because as a coach, your instinct is, okay, it's second quarter, we're down 6. You're looking at the scoreboard. And he was saying, don't watch the scoreboard, watch the energy of your team. And coach the energy of your team, don't coach the scoreboard. And it's really, really easy to say, really hard to do, but it's very similar to what you're saying, Tasha, but as a player, is don't think about, just focus really on the here and now, right? And the tactical things that are right in front of you. And it's such good advice.
Yay. I said something good.
You did it. Congratulations. Duffy, you raised your hand. You raised your hand like 9 minutes ago. I'm sorry. Go.
Well, I was going to ask about other techniques for the HSP player in the situation. Like closing the eyes sounds like talking about action words rather than talking about outcomes or thinking about outcomes. So I was just wondering if there are other sort of simple tools that you might suggest for coaches or parents to give advice to their kids who might be HSP. And then I guess I have 2 questions, because I never know when you're going to call on me again, Dave. I also want to
It's exciting.
a little bit about how you can read facial expressions and body language in players, as a coach, perhaps more than anything else, to sort of judge when it's time to, intervene in some way, whether it's positive or negative, or just, asking them to close their eyes. It's something that I think about a lot, but I don't know that I do or say the right things in the moment.
I am really old. I don't think I can remember all those questions at once, but
Yeah, Duffy, stop asking all these questions.
Okay, so
can I speak
first
again?
one, HSP. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
No.
More.
HSP,
Okay,
techniques,
HSP. One at a
techniques,
time. Okay, one at a
and
time.
then reading facial expressions.
Okay, HSP. So I think there's just a level of awareness with everything. I'm going to finish with Dave's question of awareness in the game of energy. I love that bit because I think awareness of, and I'm going to get to the HSP, I promise, Duffy. So when you're dealing with that up and down intensity of it, it's like, where's your sweet spot as a coach? That's what I'd say. Where's that intensity? Because if you're playing too intense, you're tight, right? If you're playing not enough, you're not awake. So I imagine there's some level that you are, and then each player within there is different. And then what cues does each person have to get to that level of intensity? I'm saying action clues. Is it jumping up and down? And I'll speak for myself is when I would win a first set and then the second set would start and my heart rate would drop. I'd be like, I got this. Whatever. I'd be out to lunch. I'd be thinking again about the boyfriend or what I'm going to eat or whatever it is. I mentally sort of I got this. And my heart rate dropped. And then suddenly I'm behind. And then you're like, oh, crap. Then you start to wake up. So that's where the body-mind connection is huge. And you as a coach to be aware of it and each player to be aware of it. And then how do you play with that? So for me, it's jumping up and down literally gets your heart rate going, right? It's the mind-body connection. So then you're getting the intensity going by an action cue of the body. So is it getting, for me also, it was getting really low because that's where I performed my best technically. So it's like that technical cue to get that intensity going. And so to have those as a coach, as a group, and to have them individually and to notice, we're not going to focus on certain things. What is it that makes us perform in that high performance mindset? So that's just to end, if that's helpful, Dave.
Excellent.
I just rambled
Love
on.
it.
You're looking at me straight.
No, that was great. Okay, so now let's get to Duffy's question about
Duffy.
HSPs.
HSP. Okay. Okay. More techniques. So I think you're sitting on a bus, you're going to a game, and everybody's doing all this other stuff. There's a certain level of getting an HSP worn out. And I think being aware of that. Time that is completely quiet without having the sensory stuff drained is huge. So if, you're doing an away game and you don't have something until 5 o'clock, right? And they're sensory depleted because they've had to be on for all this other stuff. You've got a kid before they're going out there is burnt. So here's my positive example of it is, I don't know if any of you have been to the new Harvey Milk Airport. Have you guys been to that terminal? There's a point to the story. Have you, Dave? I see Duffy.
Yes, I have.
Okay. It's a sensory, lovely, they've done some purposeful things in there for it to be an HSP safer airport per se. I don't know if that was their main thing, but there's no announcements. It's quiet. It is clean. There isn't this constant something that's hammering your attention without you noticing. So an HSP is paying attention to everything. You feel the liquor, the lights you've paid attention to. I hate air on my face. You're aware of all these things consciously or unconsciously are coming in through the sensory because it's more. So the more you can take away that and keep it simple for your HSP, that's great. And you don't want to be drained before you go out there. So is that answering the question?
Totally.
Can't control what happens on the court, but
yeah, no, totally.
Anyways, okay, where were we?
Dave, that was very rude. That was very rude of you.
High five.
Can I add something to coaching when you guys are ready?
Please go.
Okay. So I think if I was going to go back, and sometimes I daydream about if I was going to go coach college or something, what would I do to be the ultimate coach, and what would I have wanted? Because my college coach really we were not good. And I get along. I like to think that I get along with everybody. So maybe other people are listening to this going, hell no. Okay. So I would go in therapy. I use this motto, go slow to go fast. And so the idea is taking the time to really slice something thin. And Duffy was talking when we were in our little break here about interpersonal, something that went on with the team. So if I was to be a coach, I would have small little meetings all the time with players individually. And having that be where it's really listening to them and really making them feel seen and having different kind of conversations where it is, them almost being highlighted for the positive things. Again, going back on the positivity. I see how hard you're working. And again, it's not this like hand holding, everybody gets a trophy, but it's really bringing out the positive for that motivation, the body. And I mean, to be a high performer, you need to be pushed. But in order to be pushed, you're not going to feel very comfortable being uncomfortable unless you're supported. And so I think that's that key part that people forget of like, how is that mental support? And then you feel much more comfortable pushing the edge physically, mentally, everything if you feel like someone's got you. Go take that risk out there. Go take that shot you normally don't take. Do that thing. I've got you. Like, I'm hearing you. I'm seeing you. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, I struggle with this. With modern technology, we have access to these great tools where we can watch video of our opponents, we can watch video of our teams, and it's a really instructive tool where we can play a game and then sit down as a team and watch video and, okay, here's what we did well, here are areas we can improve.
Awesome.
And through this podcast, which has been phenomenal, we get access to all these great coaches and players and folks like yourselves, thought leaders. And it's been interesting to hear the different viewpoints on the most constructive way to deal with constructive criticism for kids and for. So let's say we have some examples of plays that we made that weren't as positive and we want to correct. Should we show the entire let's say we have one player who made a mistake. Should we show the whole team this clip and point out, okay, here's an area where this mistake was made? Or should we wait and have a one-on-one with that player and say, okay, here's an example of something that you did that we can do better? Like, should we, I don't know. I struggle with this. I just tend to have the whole team there and go through everybody and, mistakes that were made, try and be positive about them, but be constructive. But I think probably the better way would be individually with each kid. Here's things that you did well. Here are things that you can improve on. Duffy's nodding violently.
Aggressively.
What does your body language mean, Duffy?
Yeah, Duffy.
Subtle cues.
Yeah.
I'll let our expert answer, but I do have my own opinion on that.
Oh, I want to hear your opinion first since it's so strong.
I do think it's a little bit player dependent, but I would generally be on the side of showing the player individually, going over the clips individually. And unless it has significant sort of team ramifications in terms of like team execution, then I would keep it on the individual level, would be my answer.
Wow. I played like singles and doubles. So this is like way out of my realm of what to do. So it's like, it's like anything that's like shaming and the language you use is like if you want a high performance person, they have to get feedback, right? There's no, like, you got to push them. There's got to be this uncomfortability, but how can they hear them? And I think I'll go on Duffy. It's like individual stuff and at an individual time. If you just went and won, like they played out of their mind, they hit 20 points and they're doing amazing. And you're like, you played out of your mind. Let's just soak this in. And I want to take you to the next level. I want you to look at this pass that you made right here. Let's do this differently. I think everything starts with the positive. Then you kind of sneak in the improvement. And that's like in the individual, you approach them on the court in practice going, hey, I really love how your eyes are open over here, but let's try to move it here. I think people are going to be open. You watch their body language. You go out there tomorrow or today in practice and you go start with the positive every time and then you give them feedback. I'd be curious of how it goes.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know. I'm winging this answer. This is not my clinical practice. But I do that with my clients. I'm like, hey, I really appreciate how you're doing this. And they're like, whoa, I didn't even notice that about myself. Okay, I'll keep doing that. Then I'm like, well, curious what you're thinking here. And then you kind of hear this, different space.
Yeah, Duff, I do agree with you that it is kind of player dependent, right? Some kids are easily capable of handling feedback in an open forum, and some would be better, more constructive in a one-on-one. So I guess it's a one size fits all doesn't totally work. But I have one kind of adjunct to this. It was a funny story I was thinking about. We had a game earlier in the season where we were struggling and we were down a lot late. And on the bench, though, I kept pacing up and down saying, we're fine. We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. And we were playing really quite poorly and ended up miraculously winning the game.
Nice.
But I was consistent on the bench every time out. We're going to win this game. We're fine. We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. And I was driving the van back to school after the game. And I kind of, in a moment of honest reflection, said sort of to myself, I can't believe we won that game.
That's a good story.
Shotgun, one of my best players, said, wait a minute, you said the whole time you thought we were going to win the game. Like, oh, of course. Like, it's the power of words. These kids really listen to everything you say and your energy.
Yes.
And so that was a good reminder. I was glad that I stayed positive on the bench, but I got positive the whole time. Anyway, go ahead, Duff.
Well, yeah, I forget which podcast I heard this on, but it was advice about sort of prepping your team for sort of an emotional moment in a game ahead of time and sort of prepping them that it might happen. So, okay, they're going to make a run. They're going to, score 10 points in a row. They're going to be ahead. The crowd's going to be fired up. They're going to be rooting against you. You're going to slump your shoulders. You're going to feel like, okay, we're losing this game. And then this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to turn it around. So you're already sort of priming them to start to think about, all right, accept that moment. Coach said it might happen or it would happen. And here she already told us what we're going to do next. And I don't think we do that quite enough, but for big games, we do try and do it. So to probably some mixed success, but I do think that is a technique because they do listen and they aren't necessarily thinking ahead as being, especially teenagers. They're not necessarily going to visualize what might happen in the game. It's something a gift we can give the players that hopefully they can accept and use.
I will say I do that all the time. And maybe it's, I wonder if it's negative reinforcement, but I say all the time, they're going to go on a run. The crowd's going to go nuts. They're going to be high-fiving. That's fine. That happens in basketball. It's a game of runs. It's a game of momentum shifts. Just stay connected, stay together. I say that almost every game because it's true, right? I mean, basketball, things change so quickly. It's such an emotional sport. And again, it comes back to just the physical confines of it. Being in a loud indoor space, right? Tasha, to your point about sensory sensitivity, right, for HSPs. I mean,
I'm going to take a different stance. Sorry to interrupt you, Dave. So yeah. I feel like we're kind of dancing around some different stuff, but I'm going to give a perspective of just finding this awareness and centeredness for you as a coach and for you as the players. You're trying to create a narrative. That's what I'm hearing, Duffy. If I create this narrative, they're going to be prepared, right? Again, it's a thinking, right? Are we in there thinking, feeling, or are we in the moment, at the present moment? And where do we want them to be? And where are we going to talk to them about it? Pre-game, are we going to get them their adrenaline going and wear it out? Or are we going to prepare them so they're prepared for battle? There's so many different layers here. So I'm going to just maybe come from my experience. So I knew that there was going to be matches where I'm prepared to play some little phenom and the crowd is going to be rooting for them. And all these different things, all these different factors are going on. I personally found myself, and I didn't realize until looking back at this, is I put on a character. And I kept getting back into sort of this quote character. So for me, this maybe sounds a little weird. It was sort of a mix of what you call Chris Evert, who was more elegant and focused and composed, and with Naval or whatever it is, hustling down every single ball. So I was going to play gritty, fierce, but gracious and kind. That was my character. And no matter what happened, I'm staying in character. And it was staying to those action points. I'm going to compliment somebody. And trust me, that's like, it plays with their mind. If someone makes a good shot, I'm complimenting them. Talk about bringing their heart rate down potentially and letting them relax. So it's like, whatever it was, I was going to be a character that worked for me. So if the crowd's going wild, I'm staying like this. Ref gives me a bad call, I'm like this. And you finding that place where you come back to that centered place that keeps you focused. It's not like, and for me, it's about what's that next point, not about if this happens. It's too far ahead. What is my body? What is the sensory getting to the moment that keeps me cued into this? Does this make sense? And I think if the coach is thinking, oh, this and this and this, is that helping the player? How am I going to, again, lifeguard talk to this player? You need to get low, right? You're getting low. I don't know. Is this helpful?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I need you on the bench with me every game. It's great. Resilient.
Stay low, Dave.
What
Stay
was
low.
that?
I come back to this. My friend Tyler Gaffney, Duffy is my friend. Tyler Gaffney is a great coach. He coaches the San Domenico boys. He talked about he wants his teams to be present and resilient.
Love it.
And I come back to that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Such a powerful message.
Mm-hmm.
Resilient. I think that what you're talking about really is just being present.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And how do you cue into that, right? Those are kind of big things, right? Like that's like, yes, I wish to be that. And now you break it down per player. Like maybe you sit down and go, what is our performance mindset? Like preseason, and then start to build it. Like, okay, each person's like, okay, what kind of quote for, if you want to take my character, what is your game face? What is it that keeps you in that place of level of intensity, level of focus? Because frankly, it's so much focus, right? What are your cue words for your physical? What is it that keeps you? Some people, if they're poking a fight or whatever, it gets their adrenaline going, it's fine. Other people, it makes them collapse. It brings the focus away. So I think this part of, resilience is great. But if you go right back into your character that works, you're resilient, right? If you want that persistence, your character has that, you're in it, right? It's like keeping that. You can go a little bit out, but come back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. Let's talk about what advice would you give players day of game? So let's say you have a big game that night or a big match that night, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Your pre-game, pre-match, pre-competition ritual. What would be your advice?
Okay, I have a bunch of advice here. And I'm going to say something really random, and it's going to come back to this. So the first part is not random. You got to have your base that takes days ahead of time. So that comes with training, right? We're back into the gym. If you haven't consistently, intentionally worked hard, you're not going to have confidence, right? You have to put that. He's gone. Dave's gone. It's okay. You got to have that.
That was really rude, Dave.
I'm back.
Okay. You got to have confidence, and that comes in the gym, right? That's practice. So that's before day of, right? And then you've got your 2 days ahead of time. You're hydrating, you're stretching, you're doing your imagery, your good self-talk. You're hanging out with that one person who gets you, who can talk to you, who has that support that really knows whatever sport it is you're dealing with, basketball here. Okay. Then you got day of, and here comes the random thing that I didn't know until a couple of years ago. So I was reading this book, and it was talking about different hormones and the effect on the brain. And this, again, completely random, is talking about holding a gun can increase your testosterone like crazy. Just holding it, not shooting it, whatever. And why I bring this up is we don't really know how much we're doing during the day that's affecting our hormones and taking away our adrenaline. And do we giving that mind, like thinking about that before your game? So how many kids are going to go play video games and drain their adrenaline? How many of them are going to be thinking about the game and actually draining their adrenaline? How many of them are sitting around, maybe just talking, relaxing? I used to play cards, listening to music, keeping those resources precious. So I think giving that mindset, I don't want anybody to have like a gun in their gym bag. I need a dose of testosterone in between halftime. Like I'm not promoting that. I actually think my cognitive brain works really well with a shot of estrogen. So like we don't necessarily know what it is that works well for us. So that's the cognitive, like what is that? Finding our own balance of what am I doing into the day that's going to set myself up before I even start my walk onto the gym. And that our body is part of our mind and that helps it, right? Am I having a bunch of sugar? All that stuff plays a role. Okay, so going there.
Of course.
I think a routine that is body focused is super important. And using your sensory. Is it music? Is it stretching? Whatever it is that's calming and consistent. You're going to get to the gym. You're going to stretch this. I'm going to work on my breathing when I do this. I'm going to work on this imagery. Maybe it's visual. You're thinking sensory. Again, you're not going to the thinking, oh my God, this is the game. This is it. If I don't win this, I'm not going to have recruits. Jesus, right? You're like, you're right into all that. No, we're already starting the being in our body and being in action state. So having maybe our breath calm us. So you might have somebody else who needs to, I have a really, really low resting heart rate, and that can be a problem with competition.
Right.
I'm not intense enough. If I'm not intense enough, it's like, oh, Jesus, right? I'm not hustling down that ball. And so that's per player, per coach, knowing your team and your team dynamic. So that would be my part, watching what you intake, what you're around, and then having that routine it is. Visualization is another huge one. If you can just imagine yourself having a positive experience, whether it be, okay, here's my visual of doing a floater. Here's my visual of defending.
Yep.
That is literally practicing without depleting.
Love it.
That was a lot.
So kind of related to that, we talk about flow state. It's a catchphrase that people use. Give me your take on how do you get into flow state?
I would, if I was again coaching and having a team, I'd have everybody think about that time that you were in it. And then you just work backwards. What were those things? What did it feel like? Were you happy? Were you smiling? What was that image that was going on for you? And then take it from there. Pull out the action adjectives. Oh, I was floating. I was thinking about my body, whatever it is. It's again, getting into, especially if you have some HSP people, it's sensory. And have them label it and have their cue words. Because when you're in it and you want to get back into it, you cue into using that, talk to yourself in that way. Oh, I need to be happy. Then you may not be able to do it. Then you use your body. Well, I had my shoulders loose. I had my body low. That got me into that flow state. And so you could just be aware. Am I in it? Am I not in it? How are my cues? What are my things I say to myself? What is the body cues I have to get into that? So, and then don't kill yourself and gaslight yourself if you're not in it, going, damn it. This is stay in the present, start again. It's okay. Do not go into the past. That is just a performance killer.
Well, I think that's a great segue into another topic that I think is really important is, I don't know how to say it, but just giving yourself a break, right? I think we're so hard on ourselves. And Duff, I know you see this with the kids that you coach. I certainly see it with the kids that I coach, where they wear the mistakes and they get so down on themselves. And it's, how do you, again, back to resilience, right? So yeah, you want to get in that flow state. And if you're not in it, you get so down that why am I not performing the way that I want to? It's really hard to just convince those kids to just move on and focus on the next play and give yourself a break. Have some grace. Give yourself some, go Duff.
Yeah, that's line of conversation that we talked about beforehand and sharing questions, but dealing with failure and, not just, in the game itself, but afterwards. What advice might you give coaches if they're walking into the locker room and the team has just lost a tough game, close game, and the kids are feeling dejected, the room is really quiet, and obviously every situation is a little different, but what would be, a philosophy for dealing with that? scenario.
Okay, so I'll start with Dave's first, then move on to that one. I think what coaches are modeling is huge. So take a look at yourself. That's all we can control is ourselves, right? We can hope things for our kids, but are we focused on the past? Are we focused on missing that 3? I watched a coach 2 years ago bring up a previous game in front of another 10-year-old. Oh, you should have hit that 3 in front of the whole rest of the group. No, move on. And who really cares, right? These 10-year-olds, not to demean 10-year-old sports, but so what are we doing as coaches? What are you doing as a coach? Are you staying in the moment, modeling that, continuing to keep that boundary for your team? Are they going there? Call them out on it. Hey, we've moved on. We took a shot. Way to take that shot. You are setting the tone, the language, moving forward, and you don't let it happen within that group. Hey, no, we're staying present. And then you get to something sensory and move on. And I call my clients out on gaslighting themselves in their personal lives. I'm like, okay, so what voice is this right now? Where is this coming from? If you take that personal time, who is talking to you like this? But this is being said, I, as an athlete, was so crazy hard on myself. It's so intense. And that is also what got me where I was. So it's a double-edged sword. If I wasn't in there just drilling it the next day, I could not do this, not do this, not do this, do this. It was fixing that little tweak. I don't think I would have gotten where I was. And granted, I still think I was sort of a failure because I didn't do it enough. So that's that rub where I'm like, yes. And we don't want to totally take it away because if you've got a perfectionist on your team, that's going to push the performance. So it's maybe that's really bad advice because I'm not really a sports psychologist.
No, it's a great point. And I actually, my kids get annoyed with me when I tell them this. My daughter, Lucy, will, before games, she'll be nervous and she'll have butterflies. And in the car, I've said this to her for years. I said, that's good. Butterflies are good. That means you're living.
Yeah.
You're doing something that's challenging yourself. And I was like that too.
It's such great advice. And I would add to it as getting into her body. Here she's communicating, right? And now we're about to go do something physical, mind-body connection. Can we take, so she's giving you verbiage that I would guess it's here, right? Now, where do we want to be in that sweet spot, right? So we take a deep breath, body connection to get it down. So we're regulating. So here it is. She's up, she's tight. How do we loosen it down? So this constant, where do we want to be? You talk to her in her mind. Great. Let's talk to her in her body too, because this is a body-mind connection event, sports.
Right.
Okay. Duffy's question. I do not mean to ignore you, but I don't know why my face is blocked here. So I'm going to play around here. I don't know why. I'll just ignore it. Okay.
We can see you.
Okay. I can't. Okay. There we go. Okay, so your question was, God, my memory is really bad. I feel like I'm ignoring
We just lost
Duffy.
the game. Yeah,
Okay.
no, Dave is always preempting me, but it's the world I live in.
Yep.
You're walking in the locker room. The team just lost the
Yes.
tough one.
Yeah.
Body language is horrible.
Yeah.
They're dejected.
Yeah.
What's the philosophy for managing that moment?
Yeah. Okay, this is a tricky one. Again, I did individual sports other than doubles, but group dynamics is interesting. So let me just, I'm going to go on a tangent about group dynamics, and maybe that will answer our question of what to do here. Because I do believe that coaches have this place of creating narrative. And what kind of narrative do you want to make? Because you can do edits, you can redefine this, you can do whatever, and then you've got all the individual factors of everything else. But okay, so I look at groups and certain things happen. I was trained in systems theory. And so you have, let's say, a business, and you've got your CEOs up top. This, in instances, would be their coaches and your athletic director. And then you've got, your CEO below. Then you have middle management, and then you've got your interns, right? And in a theory of a company, you do not want your interns to be working as the CEOs because they're inexperienced, they don't know what they're doing, and it's too much pressure on them. But what can happen in a system is people start to play different people's roles. And that's when shit happens, right? And so your job as the CEO is to keep everything sort of in the right system. And what can happen in a team is often people will push that boundary, right? You got players who want to play coach, players who are players on the same level who are trying to be the CEO or the coach of the player. So that is sort of a dynamic of how do you want your system to be running? And a good system has healthy boundaries, people on the right level of their system, and it to be, so it's not really, so that is just something I encourage you to think of as a coach, that you're in charge of the system and feel empowered by it, but you have a right to kind of where do these boundaries fall? Now, within a system also, in a group, people tend to reenact what they had in their own family. What role did they play? So were they the person that often was just kind of scapegoated for a problem? Were they the one who kind of was the funny one? Were they the one who actually acted like the parent? So when they're in a system, they start acting like a parent, even though they're not a parent. So it's just a lot to think about the psychology of a group. But here you have all these people coming from different families who may reenact whatever's going on in a group.
Yeah.
Did I lose you guys?
No, it's absolutely, I'm with you.
Okay. Okay. So now you're going back into the scenario of your quote family, your CEO, your business here is going back into what do you, I guess I would empower you. What do you want to get out of it? What do you want as that CEO to long-term of this company per se, right? And I think there's a part of like the short-term goal, the long-term goal. And if I'm thinking as I'm trying to develop a high-performance player long-term, I want them to get back in the gym. That's my take. And what's going to get them back in the gym?
Yeah.
And to learn and push, right?
Right. Yeah, I would say I don't know exactly. I wouldn't sort of script that sort of moment ahead of time, but I would want them to soak it in, feel the moment, have it be a motivating moment, and then get back to work. And then the learning about individual mistakes or team mistakes, that probably should wait because they're probably not in a frame of mind right after a game. It's too emotional to be able to go back and revisit, particular plays or, failures or whatever it might be. So.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to add to just thinking about this of, there's a moment when you're collectively emotionally experiencing something together. And maybe that's a moment where you're labeling the feelings for the team or you're asking your team to kind of bond. What are you feeling? Because they're feeling something and you're connected with it. So good for you, Duffy. You're in tune with it. So here it is. Let's put it out in the room. What are you guys feeling? And stay with the feelings versus the thinking, because then we can get like blame and self-blame, but like have that moment to be a bonding. And maybe that's the goal of like, here, because we work through feelings. So we have to express them. So maybe that's, again, I don't know, but it's my thought process.
I like it.
Do you think, Tasha, these things are different for girls versus boys?
So I read this book and I don't know, it was like 15 years ago, but it stuck with me. It's called Top Dog. And it was a organizational psychologist who wrote about like competition and genders and what makes this one person, blah, 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 blah. And it was interesting, the fact, so I don't know if it's held up through time, but I was struck by how in athletics, guys, and tell me if I've never been in a men's locker room or on a men's team, but if there's somebody who is like the Messi, who is like really excelling, and let's just say they're a total jerk, but they're still the best, there's still a level of respect for them.
Right.
And it's like, okay, they can be in a group dynamic, have somebody who's a top dog, and they respect each other. Women, that's not necessarily girls, not necessarily true. They tend to be a little bit more in dyads and have their, if they've got their person, they're okay per se, but there isn't necessarily this respect of this person's that great that they're going to, the same respect that a man has. So then you have a male coach come in and are they aware of this difference? And is this always the case? No, these are just total big paintbrush kind of thoughts. But, also is a man coming in having this tough voice, maybe an HSP, right? Yelling at them, And are they projecting stuff that's happened to them in their life of a harsh man yelling at them and they're used to a different experience? So there's so many layers to this. I don't know if this is helpful.
Complicated.
Yeah.
Tasha, you're awesome. We've reached crunch time.
Yes.
Duffy and I do not know what we are going to ask. I jotted down a few, Duff. What you start.
What's crunch time? You have to tell me what crunch time is.
Crunch time.
Yeah.
It's the last segment of the interview, Tasha. We do rapid questions.
Okay.
They're usually good, lighthearted in nature.
Oh, God.
What's the meaning of life? That kind of stuff. Go ahead, Duffy.
Okay.
Yeah, normally we would give them to you in advance, but we haven't, so we apologize. So you're just going to have to wing it.
Awesome.
Yoga or meditation?
Meditation.
All right, wait.
This
Duffy,
is easy. Done.
Can we go back? Can we ping pong this?
Yeah.
Okay. Tasha, favorite book?
Oh, God. I don't know.
Be a good book.
Pass. Can I call somebody?
You can phone a friend.
I don't know. I'm a total junk. I don't know. I pass. Honestly, it's too much pressure. Can't name
Tasha,
one. Yeah.
I get it.
Skinner or Sigmund Freud?
What was it? Skinner or Sigmund Freud? I mean, Freud's
Skinner or
just
Freud?
kind of the man. I mean, he's totally sexualized. I mean, Skinner's awesome, but it's like, how much can you ring the bell for the dog? So he's actually probably more useful in our life because we're probably more, but Freud's just the man. He started it all.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Favorite all-time tennis player?
Oh, I like Nadal. Like, he's just like he just grinds it. And you know what? There's one thing that you have genetics or training, but when you have heart, that's it. His heart.
My favorite story about Nadal. Apologies.
Oh, here we go.
I'm probably butchering it. Tasha, crunch time usually drones on and on because I drone on and on.
I love it.
Wimbledon, the great years of Federer, Nadal, those battles. Federer would stay in like a palace, like this real, like Federer's a great guy, but
yes,
he's Federer, right? He's big time. He's super wealthy. Stay in this like fancy place, and Nadal would stay in like a cottage.
Love it.
In squalor.
I love it. He's my guy. I love it.
And that's
he's just all so focused, so great. Yeah, I want to live. I wish I would have went. I went to a tennis academy. I wish I would have gone to his. That would have been amazing.
Go, Duffy.
All right, this is a double stuff question, a twofer: hot coffee or iced coffee?
Hot all the way.
Okay, and what about sauna or cold plunge?
Oh God! Again, I'm an HSP, so it's like I have to be Goldilocks, somewhere in the middle. Like I'm a surfer, so it's like I don't like either. I just like I'll go sauna for a second. Yeah,
sauna, a tepid hot tub.
Yeah, with a few like floating, grossness in there, some STDs. Okay.
Favorite podcast.
What's that? Favorite? Oh, gee.
Not right.
I don't know what to say here.
Don't say.
My daughter's gotten into Hard Fork. This thing's falling here.
Yeah.
So I really like the guys on Hard Fork. I think they're really funny. Yeah, they crack me up. I need something that's funny, challenging me. I kind of a little bit into the broadcasts. Ted Ferriss is okay. I think he's a great interviewer, but I get a little tired of people talking about themselves all the time, even though that's just what I did for the last hour and a half here. Yeah, I think Up First. I listen to Up First every single day. Up First? I don't know that one. Okay. Yeah, it's 15 minutes of news. Start your day. I like the New York Times Daily.
Yeah, it's compressed daily. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Try it and tell me that you're not like, And then the Wall Street Journal, I actually think is better than the Daily. I used to be hooked to the Daily. Now it's the Journal.
Okay. All right. One more, Duff. You got one more. I got one more.
All right. Well, this is one we do with pretty much everyone. Favorite restaurant in Marin?
That was mine.
Takeout? Is that an answer?
DoorDash? That's Holden's favorite.
Tasha, that was a cop-out.
Yeah, you got one. Come on.
That's like food.
Okay, there is a restaurant in Sausalito, that Mexican restaurant. It's like Cachi or something or whatever. And they have this cabresa. It's a lamb quesadilla. And they make this spicy margarita that is to die for. You'll never spend so much money on a freaking quesadilla. And I don't even like cheese that much. But this thing, you will go there and you will feel like you've just like discovered crack.
It's
Yep.
copita, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Spicy margaritas are insane. And even if you don't drink, they'll make it virgin for you. So,
Right. Spicy margaritas are great.
yeah. What about you guys? What are your favorites?
Ooh. Go ahead, Duffy. The Hub.
Well, yeah, it's hard to not mention the Hub. I did love Iron Springs Brewery when it was still around. It used to be kind of our family cafeteria. The food was just, pub food, but the atmosphere just very welcoming and family friendly. But yeah, nowadays, I guess I'll have to go with our sponsor, the Hub. Party Line. And both my kids work at the Hub, so, like, how can I not say the Hub? Although maybe it actually isn't the Hub. We'll have a side conversation.
I like Buckeye. That's always my favorite.
Yeah, good choice.
It's nice.
Tasha,
It's nice.
Tasha, thank you. This has been amazing. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but this is a low budget, authentic podcast. It's part of our
Love it.
But just such great thoughts on a variety of really important topics. And I'd love to continue speaking with you about this stuff. Where can people find you? Like what?
Wandering the streets of Kentfield.
Pretty much. Usually.
Yes. I put a newsletter out every month for free, and I try to give like little technical stuff. It's on my website, www.tashajackson.com. Very easy. And I have a ton of resources there. So if you want to learn more about HSP, it's on there. My TED Talks are on there. One of the favorite things that I've ever done, which is totally not in this realm at all, was I did a serial killer podcast. I was on, and gave me a whole briefing, and I had to give a psychological breakdown of a serial killer. So much fun. And so I think that link is on there too. That's just like, if you're just like, I want a fun pleasure, that's probably, I think, something that that was super fun. So there's resources on there. Sign up for my newsletter and then you just get a free, but otherwise just, say hi to me. That's the best way I'd rather in person. Don't send me emails. I hate emails. I'm trying to get off social media. So if you write me on social media, it's just like, I just can't. I just no more. I'm tired of it. I can't support Zuckerberg either or anybody else. So, and I'm trying to think of what else. Yeah. If anybody's ever, I'm clinical therapist, but if anybody wants to talk to me about this stuff or have me talk to their team, I'm happy to like brainstorm, sit down with anybody. I love talking psychology. I love it. And I don't necessarily have the answers, but we can brainstorm together. Yeah. I just like it.
We'll put your link into the show notes, Tasha.
Sure.
Yeah. And then another time, like, we'll get the breakdown on how similar is Dave's personality to your serial killer's personality. Look at that look it's giving me. Yeah. I knew it. I knew it was in there.
Since there's like a dog lurking in the background with like a hurt neck, it does look a little suspicious, right? It's like,
that's right.
Hey, at least I didn't answer takeout to my favorite restaurant. Okay.
I do what I can. It was so fun talking to you guys. Yeah. And can I give one last bit of advice if like I'm really advicey? Like
Please.
To step back and like, I think the big part of just looking at our own stuff wherever we are, like as coaches or parents, like what was our experience? And are we coaching from within? Like I was telling Duff on the break of like some coaches are just coaching because they haven't had that really, really good coach. And so they're only coaching the best they've ever had. And so it's like, okay, looking at that and like growing from there. As a parent, like where are you coaching from? Like, are you coaching only from your experience? Just to like grow and learn. And I don't know. It's hard to be in those positions, but have fun. Great. Yeah. Sports are fun.
You're going to be a great resource for me as I continue my coaching. Because even just this, whatever hour and a half that we spoke, you've opened up a lot of new ideas. So
Yay! I'll be honored.
And our practice is at 4:00 today, so we'll see you in the team room at 4:00.
Awesome.
All right, Tasha, we're going to leave. Do not hit any buttons. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey, dude, you too must be from Marin. Marin County.